Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There's a common question that is always asked when we find a lot of Muslims, especially in England or in the Western world, when they debate with imams or people who have studied in Islamic institutions, when they find themselves in a difficult situation where they can't deal with the questions, i.e. On any Islamic fiqh issue, they say, who is your imam or who is your scholar, where did you study, do you have Ijaza to study or to dispense this Islamic law, this fatwa. Could you explain and expand a little bit more on who has the permission to dispense a fatwa, who has the right to give Islamic law, and how do you get that qualification, or what is that process of getting that qualification?
Okay. Bismillah. Well, before answering this question, I have to go through, explain some stuff that probably you know. Now, first, when we talk about religion, saying something is haram, something is halal, this is obligation, we are talking on behalf of Allah. Like we are saying Allah said, even though you don't say it. If you say something is haram, something is halal, something is obligation, you are saying Allah made it obligation. Without saying it, you say it. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنِ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. The hukm, decision making in religion, belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala criticizes those who talk about religion without having proof from Him, without having authority from Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ أَرَأَيْتُمْ مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ فَجَعَلْتُمْ مِنْهُ حَرَامًا وَحَلَالًا اللَّهُ أَذِنَ لَكُمْ. Did you see what Allah has sent down to you from rizq, from provisions, and then you made of it some halal and some haram? Allah has given you permission? This question. Did Allah give you permission? Or you are lying about Allah? The halal making, haram making things obligations or forbid people from doing things, this is just, nobody has this right except Allah, specifically for Allah, not even the Prophet. It comes in the hadith which is from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, that he one day, the Prophet ﷺ, made a speech and he said, من أكل من هذه الشجرة الخبيثة فلا يقربن مسجدنا. Someone who has eaten from this tree, disgusting tree, he shouldn't approach our mosque. Now he meant here disgusting, it's disgusting, the color, the disgusting, not the shari'i hukm, not that the sharia considered it to be disgusting, because what sharia considered to be disgusting, if Allah describes something to be khabith, it will be haram. Here he was referring to the smell. He doesn't like smell. So what people thought, some people went saying it is haram, it is haram. So he called people back. This hadith is in Muslim. He called people back and said, Ya ayyuhan nas, innahu laysa li tahrimu ma ahal Allah. It's not for me to make haram what Allah has made halal. Except this is a tree, this is something that I don't like. I don't like the smell of it. So Allah didn't make it haram. And the Prophet, therefore, he can't make it haram. Nobody is allowed to make things haram except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When people say this is haram, this is halal, they are saying Allah made it haram, and therefore they have to have proof. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ رَبِّيَ الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ. Say that my Lord has forbidden the lewd acts and saying, lewd, the shameful acts and shameful say, فواحش, the apparent and the hidden, وأن تشركوا بالله ما لم ينزل به عليكم سلطانا, and to associate with Allah something that He has not given you permission to do, to associate with Him, and Allah didn't give us permission to associate with Him, anybody anyway. وأن تقولوا على الله ما لا تعلمون, and to say about Allah the things that you don't know. So if you say this is haram and you don't have proof for that, that is haram. It will be a sin. If you say this is halal and you don't have clear proof from Quran and Sunnah from Allah, then it will be haram. You don't have the permission to talk about Allah without knowledge. Knowledge that we define, the knowledge that is in the Quran and Sunnah, the knowledge which is in Quran and Sunnah. This knowledge, we find it in Quran and Sunnah. Quran did not come to the Sahaba. These points, if you understand these points, you will understand about Ijaza. Quran doesn't talk to the Sahaba directly, only the Sahaba. It's for everybody. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Prophet and those charged with authority amongst you. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. If you differ in something, refer it back to Allah and His Prophet. This ayah is not for the Sahaba. This ayah is for every Muslim. So if anyone now differs with the Sahaba, he must refer it back to the Prophet. It's not like this ayah is for the Sahaba or this ayah is for the only the people who came after. Yes.
Maybe stop me if
Yes.
this isn't the right time to ask it, but if you go back, you don't know which verse to look at, what has been said. This is what people.
I have not reached that place. I am talking the Quran. I have not answered your question back yet. I am now making some points here that will help you understand. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, why do I believe that Quran is for everybody? Why do everybody actually believe that Quran is for everybody? Except that sometimes some people say this ayah for the Sahaba, this ayah is for us. No, the Quran is for everybody. Every ayah in the Quran, except where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specified, like Ya ayyuhalladhina kafaru. This is talking to the kuffar. It's for us to read it and believe it, but He is talking to the kuffar. O you who disbelieve, don't لا تعتذروا اليوم. Don't ask us for forgiveness today, the day of judgment. This is what Allah will tell them.
But the Surah Al-Kawthar is to the Prophet.
Yes, I am saying except where there is specified, and I started with this, and then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Ya ayyuhan nabi, or where the Prophet says Ya nisa an-nabi lastunna ka ahadin min an-nisa. Before I finish my statement, you can't comment. So where the Prophet say Ya nisa an-nabi lastunna ka ahadin min nisa. O woman of the Prophet, you are not like any of the women. It is clearly for the woman of the Prophet. إن اتقيتن يا نساء النبي من يأتي منكن بفاحشة مبينة يضاعف له العذاب ضعفين. If anyone comes with clear shameful act, that the her punishment will be double. Double of what? Double of what normal people will get. So this is not for everybody. This is just for the wives of the Prophet, and we know none of them have done any fahisha mubayyan, alhamdulillah. It's not like it's the Quran. We are reading Quran only. We are not saying anything about the Prophet's wives. Just an example. So, other Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, this is for everybody. That is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, لِأُنذِرَكُمْ بِهِ وَمَنْ بَلَغْ وَأُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنُ لِأُنذِرَكُمْ بِهِ وَمَنْ بَلَغْ. This Quran has been revealed to me. This is an ayah in Surah Al-An'am. The Quran has been revealed to me, so I warn you with it. So He will warn the Sahaba with it. وَمَنْ بَلَغْ, and whomever it reaches. It will warn. It's warning for the Sahaba. It's warning for the Muslims, and whomever this Quran reaches. Anyone who is reading the Quran, it's warning for him. He will be asked about it. So the Quran is for us. If the ayah says, for example, the ayah that says وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَةً فَلَوْلَا نَفَرَ مِنْ كُلِّ فِرْقَةٍ مِنْهُمْ طَائِفَةٌ لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ وَلِيُنْذِرُوا قَوْمَهُمْ إِذَا رَجَعُوا إِلَيْهِمْ. The believers don't have to go forth all together. So let some of them, from every group, some of this group should go forth to learn the religion, to gain fiqh in the religion, and then come back and warn other people. This is for everybody. Also, when the Prophet says, "May yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqahu fi din." If Allah wants good for someone, He will make him understand the religion. You see, fiqh is not something that you take from your sheikh. It's something that Allah gives you. Fahm, understanding of religion, is something that Allah gives you. The Quran and Sunnah, we take them from the trustworthy people. Yeah, the trustworthy people transmitted Quran and Sunnah to us. But the understanding, no, the understanding is actually Allah gives someone understanding. This is what the Prophet said. May yuridillahu bihi khayran. If Allah wants good for someone, He make him understand the religion. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, which has been revealed to us, all of us, to the Sahaba and for us to follow. In this Quran, Allah has criticized people who don't reflect on the Quran. كتاب أنزلناه إليك مبارك ليدبروا آياته. A book that we have revealed to you, we have sent down to you, so they might reflect on it. أفلا يتدبرون القرآن? Don't they reflect on Quran? Ponder on Quran? Don't they? This is criticizing those who don't reflect on Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say that this is not for the Sahaba, for them to reflect on the Quran, make tafsir and tell us and we take it. No, we all have to reflect on Quran. It's an obligation on us to reflect on Quran. Try to understand it. Now, if you try to understand it and you reach an understanding which no one before you have said, for example, then you don't have to take it. Then why do you have to reflect anyway? It's there. Go and tafsir and read it. Why do you have to reflect on Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has criticized actually those who, when they know and understand, they still ask. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, in Surah Muhammad, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَسْتَمِعُ إِلَيْكَ. And amongst them, those who listen to you, amongst the people, those who listen to you, amongst the hypocrites, are those who listen to you. حتى إذا خرجوا, they will listen to you, they will hear what you are saying. حتى إذا خرجوا من عندك قالوا للذين أوتوا العلم ماذا قال آنفا. Then when they go out, they will say to those people of knowledge, what did he say before? They heard it, but now they ask a question. What did he say before? This is the only ayah that we find like, he says, أولئك الذين طبع الله على قلوبهم. Those are the people that Allah has sealed their hearts. They understand it, it's clear, and then they go asking, what did he say? Maybe they will find another way. Maybe, it's difficult. Maybe someone will give me something that, I understood that this is an obligation. Maybe if I ask someone, will say it's not. So, and the Prophet as well have warned the Sahaba when he ordered them and ordered us to convey the message. He warned them and warned us that the fact that we are transmitting the message doesn't mean that we will understand it better than those who are going to convey the message to them too. It comes in the hadith which the Prophet said in Hajj, لِيُبَلِّغِ الشَّاهِدُ الْغَائِبَ. Those who are present should transmit the message to those who are not here. Because some of those who are not here might understand it better than the people who are here. So the understanding of the religion, the Quran and the Sunnah is for us to read, to reflect on, to understand. When we understand something, we have to apply it. We have to apply it and we have to transmit this understanding to others. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. Say that my prayer, my sacrifice, my life and my death are to Allah, belongs to Allah. There is no partner with him. وبذلك أمرت, and this is what I have been ordered. وأمرت أن أكون من المسلمين, and I have been ordered to be amongst the Muslims. وأمرت أن أكون أول المسلمين. I have been ordered to be the first of the Muslims. Now, Muslim here, what does it mean? Does it mean Islam, the religion, being a Muslim as meaning being the first Muslim? If you say that, the way, for example, some tafsirs put it, they will say this is for the Prophet, because he is the first of the believers. But nobody should say the same thing. This ayah is not addressing the Prophet. This ayah didn't start with Ya ayyuhan nabi. So it's not addressing the Prophet. And even if it was addressing the Prophet, can you say that the Prophet is the first Muslim? He is not the first Muslim. The first Muslim is Adam. Nuh was amongst the Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran that Nuh said, وَأَنَا مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ, I am from the Muslims. Musa said, I am from the Muslims.
So can I just quickly, just to clarify for myself, so you're saying is that everything in the Quran, unless there is no specific mention, you should take it as general?
Yeah, of course. Every ayah that Quran talk to us, everybody Quran is talking to him. So he must take it unless it's specified that says this is for the Prophet. Yeah, it starts with like Ya ayyuhan nabi.
What about abrogated verses, for example?
Abrogation, we will come to it inshallah. We are studying about Quran because abrogation is a subject by itself.
Okay. So, for example, this, like for example, the one with the alcohol, would that have been addressing the Sahaba, or is it in general?
I am going to get out of the subject if I start that, and then I will, but I will come to it inshallah. Now, when the ayah is any ayah in the Quran is addressing the Muslims in this time, and for your information, there is no actual ayah in the Quran that is abrogated in the Quran. So this is what happens when someone stops me. No, yeah, we stopped. He said then the Quran actually is talking to us all directly, everybody. The Quran is talking to everybody, ordering us to believe in it, to reflect on it, and to apply it. And they mentioned this ayah, وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Now, since أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ doesn't mean that I am the first Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِ. Ibrahim alayhi salam, هُوَ سَمَّاكُم, he called you Muslims. So, and Ibrahim and all the prophets were Muslims, and then their followers were Muslims. So we are. So this word means something else, because word Muslim means the actual religion, Islam, and means surrendering. It's like the prayer, salat. Salat in the Arabic language means something. In the religion means something else. So the word Islam means surrendering.
It's Islam.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have been ordered to say that I am the first of the Muslims. Since I can't say I am the first of the Muslims, meaning I am the first Muslim ever. So I am allowed, and I am supposed to be the first of the ones who surrender to Allah. In this meaning, if I see something that Allah has ordered and I can't see that anybody has done it, let's say there are things that the Prophet have not done because it wasn't in his time, for example. It was not possible for him. He was, for example, the leader. But the Prophet said that if the Muslims are divided, keep away from the groups, for example. No, this is not possible that the Prophet could have done it, because when in his time the Muslims are the Muslims. If anyone go against his order, he is not Muslim anyway. But Muslims can differ on another leader, not on the Prophet, but the leaders that comes after the Prophet. People might differ in this. People might have no leader, choose not to have leader, and be divided. And then in this case, the Prophet said, keep away from the groups. Now, the Prophet didn't have the chance, in a way, to apply this. It's not possible for him to apply this. Because he is the leader, like someone today, I come across this ayah and say, oh, I look at the people around me, and the people before me, and say, okay, nobody actually did apply this ayah, or this hadith of the Prophet, keep away from the groups. Everybody is making group. Let's say as an example, what shall I do? Shall I just say I am with people? I am one of the Muslims. Let me just do what they are doing. Who am I? No, I am supposed to say exactly what Allah ordered me. وَأَنَا أَوَّلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. I am the first who is going to apply it. I don't care what people have done. Maybe some people have done it. I don't have to think that. But for me, now that I don't know anybody have done it, I still have to do it. And I don't wait, okay, if there is someone who is going to do it, I will be next. This is what Ibn Mas'ud used to say. لا يكونن أحدكم إمعة. No one of you should be an imma'a. Imma'a is a word which is not really from Arabic, but it is the combination of two words. Inni ma'a. I am with. I am with people. If they are good, I am good. If they are bad, I am bad. No. You are not with people. You have to go to follow the Quran and Sunnah. If people follow Quran and Sunnah, that's fine. You are following Quran and Sunnah with them. If they don't, you still have to follow Quran and Sunnah. There is no such condition. I will not worship Allah until people worship Him. So, and Allah in this Quran that we have to follow, in this Quran that He told us it's for us to reflect on, that He will give us understanding, and that we have to follow that understanding. In this Quran, where He told us that we have to be the first people to apply, not wait for others, He also ordered us to convey this message. وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ لَتُبَيِّنُنَهُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَكْتُمُونَهُ. And when Allah has taken the covenant of the people who have been given the book, and this is another issue here which we might talk about later. Given the book, Ahl al-Kitab normally, generally, Quran refers to Ahl al-Kitab as the people of the book, Ahl al-Kitab. But not always, because we have been given the book as well. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابِ, everybody who has been given kitab is kitab. Sometimes Allah refers specifically to people of Ahl al-Kitab, those before us. مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ, before you. So that is not for us.
Specific.
Yeah. But when He says, those who have been given the book, anybody who has been given the book, and we were given the book, and Allah has taken the covenant of people who have been given the book, لَتُبَيِّنُنَهُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلَا تَكْتُمُونَهُ, that you have to show it to people and you not hide it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran as well, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنِ اتَّبَعَنِ. This is my way. I call towards Allah, me and those who follow me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَادْعُوا إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ. Call towards the way of your Lord with hikmah, with موعظة and hikmah, بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. Hikmah is
they translate it as wisdom. Usually.
Wisdom. The wisdom is the Quran and Sunnah. Wisdom, which is Quran and Sunnah. That is, wisdom only comes from Quran and Sunnah. So you have to call towards Allah with this, with the wisdom that Allah has sent with the prophets. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, وَيُعَلِّمُهُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ, to teach him the book and the wisdom. Wisdom comes from the book. So Allah ordered us to call people towards Him, towards his religion. And he told us, لِتَكُنْ كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. You are the best nation that has been raised to mankind. You enjoin the good and forbid the evil. The Prophet said, مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ. Someone who sees the munkar, something wrong, he must change it with his hand. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. Talk about it. When you see something, you read Quran, you understand something with the understanding that Allah has given you, and then you see someone doing the opposite, you have to call him, you have to stop him. Invite him to the religion.
So this is for everybody, not just...
This is for everybody. مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ. All this shows that it is an obligation for everybody to talk about the things that he knows. Because we said first that you are not allowed to talk about the things that you don't know. وَأَن تَقُولُوا عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. When you talk about religion, don't talk, don't say this is haram, this is halal, unless you have proof from Allah. Now if you have it, then you have to convey this message. It's an obligation on you. And if you don't, no matter who you are, as long as you know that this is from Quran and Sunnah, you have to talk about it. If you don't, you shouldn't talk about it. No matter what is your name, Shafi'i, Malik, Bukhari, they can only talk about the things that they know. And those who are less, they call it fortunate, I don't know if this is the right, those who have not given, Allah didn't give them as much knowledge as these people, they still have to talk about the things that they know. Because this is an order from Allah.
So
Ijaza, what do you want Ijaza from people when you have an Ijaza from Allah? If someone says you need an Ijaza from Sheikh, then he must bring a proof for that. That is because the Prophet ﷺ says, the Prophet says in the hadith, which is narrated by Bukhari, كل شرط ليس في كتاب الله فهو باطل. You see, he is saying in a way, someone who says you can't talk about religion until you have Ijaza, he is saying in a way, you can't, it is a condition. You have to fulfill this condition before you can talk to people about religion. Before you can teach people religion, you have to fulfill this condition. What is condition? You get permission from a sheikh. When you have already an order from Allah, this person is making a condition in the religion. However, the Prophet made it clear that any condition, كل شرط ليس في كتاب الله فهو باطل, any condition that is not in the book of Allah, it is invalid. Even if it is 100 condition, the condition of Allah is more worthy to be followed. We have the condition of Allah that you learn and you convey the message. Now if someone says you need the permission of Sheikh, he must prove it. The problem here is that the people you talk to, mostly, as you mentioned here, is people in this country. The people who talk and say you can't talk in religion without permission. Ask him this question. What you are talking about, is it religion? It is haram to talk, is it religion? Or something not from religion? If it's not from religion, I don't care. If it's from religion, he would reply, no, this is from religion. Who gave you the permission to say this? Most of the time he have never studied actually this, but the person who will be talking to you has never studied. So how did you give yourself the permission to talk about such big issue, contradicting the book of Allah, and forbid it for other people? Sometimes people talk about things without thinking. For example, when someone say there is no Ijtihad after the 4 Imams, big people have said this, from the Hanafis, from Qadi Iyad, Sarkhasi, Shashi, yeah, they put this. There is no permission to anyone to say anything unless he can prove that one of the major imams has said this before him. Or no one can say that this hadith is sahih or da'if unless he can prove that someone before him have said something similar. I'm just give you another example. Okay, who said this? Sarkhasi, Qadi Iyad, Shashi, some people like these people, Ibn Salah. Then you ask these people themselves, do you consider yourself a big sheikh like these people? Of course they don't. They are very humble. The matter that you are talking about, that the book of Allah should be ignored, just read for barakah, and rather than following the book of Allah or the sunnah of the Prophet, we just now follow people. This such big statement that contradict the whole Sharia. Where did you get it from? Did you get it from one of the imams that you are ordering us to follow? No, you made it. So it is fine for you to make such big decision when you don't find it in any imam before you have said it. No imam before you have said it. But you forbid me from talking about matters like wudu, contradicting Abu Hanifa in wudu or in salah. Does it make sense?
Yeah, but they'll say that you're not qualified and you might tell somebody the wrong thing and misguide somebody.
How do you know that a person is not qualified?
I can't go to the
How
Quran.
do you know that a person is qualified or not qualified?
Yeah, but
I mean,
can't go to
every
the Quran
person, everybody.
and look at a verse.
Yeah.
I can't go to the Quran, look at one verse.
I will never
and make
say
my
that you can go to
religion
the
from it.
Quran. I
So
can
they'll
never
say-
say that you can go to the Quran and read it and try to extract any information. The reason is that the book you are going to is not Quran. You are going to translation of Quran. But if you have the ability to go to the Quran,
Okay,
if you
I'm
are
not
qualified
Arab,
in
I can
Arabic
speak
language,
Arabic.
if you can speak Arabic, yes, and then you can go to Quran, then you have to know that the people who used to come to the Prophet are Arabs. Some of them are the Sahaba, the best people. Some of them are Bedouins. You know the way Allah described the Bedouins in Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, Al-A'rabu ashaddu kufran wa nifaqa. The Bedouins are ashaddu kufran wa nifaqa. More, the translation of it, bit difficult. So, the Arab,
Sorry, because I remember you were talking about that verse last week, yeah?
yes,
But let's just say I can speak Arabic
says,
and I go to a verse in the Quran
yes,
and I take just the, you know, like somebody said, there's a snake and you grab the tail and you don't grab the head and it ends up biting you. You
yeah,
might take one verse,
yeah,
not know what another verse is, not know another principle in Islam,
yes.
and then you say, okay, Allah said that, I'll take that, and then I'll go and tell
Just-
everybody about
If you
it.
just
and then
let me
misguide
finish
people.
one thing and go to the second thing.
Okay.
Everybody have done this. Every imam of that you have mentioned have done something similar, a mistake. A person is supposed to do hukm bima anzal Allah. He is supposed to try his best. That is ijtihad. Ijtihad is to try your best to find every single hukm. When I say, you are talking about who gave you the permission to talk in the book of Allah, and then you went now taking one verse from the Quran. It's not this. This is not the original question. The original question, even it says who gave you permission. It means you have read the books of fiqh, you have read the books of tafsir, you have studied, but you have no permission from imam, then you can't. We are talking. So when you ask me a question, let me answer that question and then don't go to something different. Now we are talking someone take an ayah and apply it just without looking to the Quran, the rest of the Quran. First let me say that every big scholar, if you want to call them that way, have made something similar, a mistake like this. He will take one ayah and not realize that there is an ayah, another ayah that you have put together to come to the conclusion, and he made this mistake. People, when they talk about religion, when they say Allah, they have to do their utmost to find the solution. We are not talking about ijtihad, we are talking about ijaza. even if you know you are not supposed to talk until someone gives you Ijaza. This is what the original question was.
It's a very good point mentioned.
Yeah. So, a person who are not, if he has the Quran and Sunnah, and he read it, and he does his best, doing his best, including probably sometime looking, if you read something and it's not really that clear to you, like إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه. I mean, if you comment to this ayah, which is clearly make the alcohol haram, and you make fatwa based on this, that alcohol is haram, I think this ayah, it's clear. It's very unlikely that will be abrogated without going to the books of fiqh and reading them. So, but sometimes it is doing your utmost if to try to see the words. If you are not proper Arabic, but you have enough knowledge of Arabic, still try to find this word. What does it mean? I mean, even the Sahaba did not know the Arabic 100%. There was Sahaba who sometimes a word from Quran will not understand it. Doing your utmost is to try as much as possible to get all the information regarding the hukm that you are going to make. Reading any book, if possible, before you make your decision. Because you might read something, understand something, but someone else can explain to you or give you another idea. Okay, what you are seeing here is wrong. So Ijaza is not Ijtihad. We are talking about something else. So, when you make your decision, based on Ijtihad, trying your best, now, why someone say you are not qualified? Why you are not qualified? And who is going to give you the qualification?
Okay, correct me
Because
if I'm
there is
wrong.
so many groups. Yeah.
Is there a hadith? I'm not sure of its
Yeah.
authentic.
Even though I
authenticity.
think your way here in debating is very wrong, because I was going to talk about something which you made me totally probably forget.
Okay,
I was going, yeah,
Sorry,
but still
I do
continue if you want.
Yeah. Is there a hadith that says, I'm not sure of its authenticity, but
Yeah.
it says, if somebody has no knowledge and he gives a ruling
Yeah.
and he gets it right, he will still be in the hellfire.
Yes. There is hadith da'if. There is hadith da'if like that. However,
Because that's another hadith.
there is hadith da'if like that. However, it is true. Hadith da'if, the meaning of hadith da'if doesn't mean that everything. Sometimes some people, liars or weak people, will bring a saying of someone who is not the prophet and attribute it to the prophet. So the hadith will be da'if if it's narrated by da'if, or maybe a liar will make it up just for the sake of helping the religion. So that hadith is da'if. However, it is haram to talk about Allah without knowledge. The Quran says it. I already mentioned the ayah for you. So it is haram. That hadith doesn't really establish, add anything to this ayah. However, this ayah as well is for everybody. This ayah is not for the people who don't have Ijaza. This ayah for people who read Quran and there is a specific matter they don't know, they still talk about it. I mean, no matter how knowledgeable you are supposed to talk about the things that you know, not the things that you don't know. And when you are not sure about something, when you have not done enough search about something, you never talk about it. But we started originally talking about permission. You need permission from this sheikh or from this sheikh, from Debunking or from Salafis or from Ikhwanis, or of course if you think like the Salafis, the Ikhwanis will not give you an Ijaza. If you think like the Ikhwan, the Salafis will not give you an Ijaza. So where do we get the Ijaza from? We have it already from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have it an order that if you know something, you have to talk about it. If you don't know it, you don't talk about it. This is the condition that is in the book of Allah. The conditions that people added to the book of Allah, these conditions should be ignored, because the Prophet said, كُلُّ شَرْطٍ لَيْسَ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ بَاطِل. Any condition that is not in the book of Allah, it's invalid. You understand? And I was going to explain to you that the people who come to the Prophet for questions sometimes, you see, there was the Arab, the Bedouins, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described, this is how Allah described them in His book. The Bedouins are the worst in disbelief and hypocrisy, likely to be in ignorance of the limits of Allah, of the religion. Likely to be in ignorance of the limits which Allah has revealed to His Messenger, and Allah is all knower, all wise. These people used to come to the Prophet and ask him questions in the presence of the Sahaba, and he will give them the answer. That answer is what we have today, that this is haram, this is halal. Okay? So that answer is what we have today. And when he gives them the answer, like they will ask regarding a matter, what are the obligations? Do I have to do more than this? A Bedouin come to the Prophet and ask, how many prayers? 5. Fasting of Ramadan, giving zakat. Do I have to do more than this? No. This man, when he goes from the Prophet, away from the Prophet, when the Prophet explained to him the religion, which we have it today, and he understood it because he was an Arab, and Allah described them this way, this person, the Prophet doesn't tell him, you heard it from me, now you are not allowed to do anything until you go to a Sheikh and you take Ijaza from him, and he will explain it to you.
So where do they get their evidences from?
Well, you go to the people who tells you this ignorance, this, you don't ask me, ask them.
Yeah, I know, but clearly, I mean, you may know that they must have some argument, evidence somewhere.
Of course, they have the desire. They have some people, you have some people who are ignorant, and they want to be the chiefs, they want to be the patrons, they don't want to be challenged. And of course, they will put this to their followers, that you have to have Ijaza. And most of these people that today they have spoken to, they have their sheikhs, they have no Ijaza at all. Their sheikh have never been to any university, no any sheikh to study. Their sheikh actually, and they can refer to someone specifically, I don't mention names normally, but he's known that he doesn't memorize even Quran. And then his followers today, and then I'm not saying that he is bad or something, but someone who follow like someone like this, someone who has never memorized Quran, have never been with a sheikh to study, and say you need permission and you need Ijaza. This is Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu lima taquluna ma la taf'alun. O you who believe, why do you say what you don't do? So to ask, the religion that we have is the religion that the Prophet used to tell the Sahaba, and they will tell us exactly the way the Prophet told them. If you know Arabic language, the way they know it, that's all you need.
So what you're saying, it makes sense, but what you're saying is there are people who say we follow Quran, Sunnah, Salaf Salih,
Yes.
pious predecessors. It seems to me that
What is the proof now? Follow Quran and Sunnah, I give you the proof.
now the proof
Allah
that they give,
says, yeah.
the proof that they give,
Yeah.
they say is well, 2 or 3 points. They say first of all, the best
The
community
genuine. Yeah.
is the Sahaba, because Allah has praised them in the Quran,
Okay.
and they were with the Prophet directly.
Okay.
Okay, number 1. So as a group, Allah has praised them. Number 2, they say is the hadith about the best generation is the Sahaba, then the Tabi'in, then the Tabi'in, and after that is falsehood. So what they say, the Salaf Salih, usually links to the first few generations. However, they don't go by, I mean, I'm referring here specifically to the Salafis, but they also mention Ibn Taymiyyah, which I believe he's not even in the 3rd generation, he's way after.
Yeah.
But they still say there still has to be that sanad,
The
Prophet,
Sunnah.
Sahaba, Tabi'in, Tabi'in. But
Yeah,
this is their argument.
all the humanity is connected. Like the way Ibn Taymiyyah is connected to the Salaf, even though he came 300 years after, we still connected to them even though we came 100 1,400 years. I mean, every generation, before it's wiped out together, before a generation finish, there is another generation that comes, it's connected. If you tell me Ibn Taymiyyah had sanad to the Prophet, no, it isn't necessarily. He found books and he read from them. Yeah, he had some shuyukh, but to make sure, to say that his teachers are linked, Ibn Taymiyyah was someone who was very rejected by the people he was living amongst. That because he was following the Quran and Sunnah at his best understanding, he didn't limit himself to the four madhahib. You understand?
People, he's connected to the Ahmadi.
Yeah, he is Ahmad bin Hanbal. Yeah, it was a way, it was a time, you have to say, he doesn't follow Ahmad bin Hanbal all the way. He contradicts the four madhahib sometimes. And that's why he was in prison. That's what made Ibn Taymiyyah. I mean, the people who follow just like this blindly are people who had done nothing.
So you don't take the Sahaba's understanding of Quran and Sunnah?
We don't necessarily take the Sahaba generally are the best people to understand. Generally. Doesn't mean that they will get everything correct. And sometimes maybe a group of Sahaba, not one only, will say something and they are still not right in saying it. Because there is nothing in the Quran that says they have the best understanding. I told you that being the best doesn't mean being the one who will understand better. I told you that we have from the hadith that the Prophet told the Sahaba, convey this message. This is hadith of Abu Bakr in Sahih Bukhari. Convey this message. Those who are present should convey the message, because some of those who are not present today might understand it better than those who are present. That is, the Sahaba who are present in there. You understand? Now, let me, on top of this is hadith clear that says the Sahaba might sometimes get it wrong. We have many hadith actually where the Sahabi will say something, will make a fatwa, and then the Prophet will say, you are wrong. He told you are wrong to Umar. He told Umar ibn Khattab, he read an ayah to Umar ibn Khattab, and Umar couldn't understand it, even though Umar is one of the most knowledgeable people. He read it to him directly and he couldn't understand it. Many fuqaha today don't say, or before, many fuqaha after Umar ibn Khattab didn't say, oh, Umar ibn Khattab was not able to understand it, just ignore it. We are not going to think about it or try to take any hukum from it. That is, in a way, saying that, oh, Umar ibn Khattab didn't understand it, it's possible for me to understand it. Generally, I will tell you, it does make sense that the Sahaba are generally the most knowledgeable. It is their language. They heard the hadith from the Prophet directly. They don't have to think, is this hadith da'if or not da'if? Most of the time they have heard the hadith and they heard the hadith which came later. So they don't have to work out which one is mansukh, which one is abrogated, which one is not abrogated. So it was very easy for them. But still, sometimes they have the hadith. Forget about when they don't know the hadith actually. Sometimes the Prophet might say hadith for someone and he doesn't say it to many people. All he was ordered to do is to convey the message by saying the hadith to one person. Just like when he said it to Mu'adh and told him not to tell anybody. He conveyed the message. Saying it to someone, he conveyed the message. It's not his duty to protect the religion. It's his duty to convey the message. Saying it to one, he has conveyed the message. And then it's Allah who will protect the religion. It's Allah who will make Mu'adh tell people this hukm, or it will come from another hukm, from another hadith. However, because so many questions in the same time, it makes me really not remember what you were talking about. The people who say the Sahaba. Okay, the Sahaba are, I told you, being the best doesn't mean the most of understanding. Let me give you some hadith. I told you that a hadith in Bukhari that the Prophet told Umar an ayah, he read it to him, and Umar kept asking, and the Prophet said, it's enough for you, this ayah. Until Hafsa told the Prophet leave him, wallahi he will never understand it. And that's true. He never understood it, because when he was dying, he was saying, I wish that the Prophet explained this on the bed when he was dying. Even though the Prophet told him it's enough for you. This ayah is enough for you to understand. The Prophet said this to Abu Bakr, trying to explain dream. He told it to Abu Sanabil bin Ba'bak, the man who told the woman that she can't marry when she delivered the baby. He said, Abu Sanabil got it wrong. We have Sahaba at the time of Tabi'een reading Quran, and some Tabi'een answering them. I'm not going to mention many hadith. I'm going to mention the hadith which is in Bukhari, in the book of Tafsir. Ibn Abbas was sitting with Abu Salama bin Abd al-Rahman, and Abu Salama bin Abd al-Rahman is not a Sahabi, he is a Tabi'i. And the woman came to Ibn Abbas and asked about the period. Her husband died, and she delivered the baby a few days later. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran that those who dies amongst you and leave behind wives, they should wait for 4 months and 10 days. But another ayah in the Quran, in Surah Al-Talaq, it says, وَأُولَاتُ الْأَحْمَالِ أَجَلُهُنَّ أَنْ يَضَعْنَ حَمْلَهُنَّ. Those with loads, the women who are pregnant, their limits, their times, is when they deliver their children, their babies, their load. So here, these two ayah, part contradiction. Ibn Abbas was asked, and Ibn Abbas know this ayah and this ayah. He told the woman, you have to wait. He made his fatwa. This is his ijtihad. This is what he believes. Abu Salama said, no, I don't believe that. She is free to get married if she wants. Then Ibn Abbas, when he heard this opinion, he sent to Salama. And Salama said, yes, what Abu Salama bin Abd al-Rahman said is right. She didn't say this, she confirmed what Abu Salama bin Abd al-Rahman said is right. Because this is the fatwa that the Prophet gave to the woman, that she can marry as soon as she delivered the baby. So this is Ibn Abbas, one of the most knowledgeable of Quran and Sunnah. The Prophet made dua for him, even though we believe that the Prophet have made dua for every Sahabi. It's not possible that dua is free. And then Umar and Abu Bakr and Ibn Umar, these people will never get the idea to ask him. The fact that he didn't say that the Prophet made dua for us doesn't mean that he never made dua for them. So, they were the most knowledgeable people. Yes, they still make mistakes. Ibn Umar, when he is asked about inheritance, it was difficult for him. He will say to people, go to Sa'id ibn Jubair. Anas ibn Malik, when he was asked a question about religion, he will say, go to Hassan al-Basri. He is not better than him. Those people are not better than the Sahaba. But in knowledge, yeah, they might understand better than him. It's possible. As one to say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to follow the Sabiqun al-Awwaluna min al-Muhajirin wal-Ansar, that Allah ordered us to follow the Muhajirin and Ansar. It wasn't an order. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ. He says, it's a statement from Allah, that those, the first generation, about the Muhajirin and Ansar, and those who followed them, and those who followed them with excellence, رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. This is, those who followed them, doesn't mean the Tabi'in. These, all of who followed them to the day of judgment, Allah will be pleased with them, with excellence. Those who followed them with excellence. This ayah doesn't order us to follow the Sahaba. This ayah is similar to the ayah which says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُمْ بِإِيمَانٍ. Those who believe and their children followed them with iman. أَلْحَقْنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ. Does it mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us here that we have to follow our fathers and our mothers? No, but those who believe and their children and their offspring follow them with belief, Allah will put them together in paradise. That's all it means. And as to correct one mistake here, to say the Sahaba are better than the Tabi'in. The definition of Sahabi is the definition of Sahabi is someone who has given company to the Prophet. Some people say someone who has seen the Prophet. But I say given company because the word companion, it comes from company. And definitely the Sahaba, all the Sahaba are better than anyone who came after them. But they are not better than all tabi'in. And I mean tabi'in here, the tabi'in that were living in the time of the Prophet. We have established that a Sahabi is someone who has given company to the Prophet. Tabi'i is someone who has seen Sahabi. There was time, in the time of the Prophet, there was some people who don't qualify to be called Sahaba. When the people of Medina came to the Prophet and gave him the covenant that they will help him in Medina when he comes, that they will help him in spreading the religion, not every person from Medina came. Some of them came. So they are Sahaba. They went in Medina and told the people, and the people followed them. Amongst these people, this is called Ansar. They were helping the Sharia. They helped establish religion in the Medina to prepare the place for the Prophet. Some of them died before the Prophet come and give him company, so they are not Sahaba. But they are السابقين الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار, the first from the Ansar and Muhajirin. And some people tried to do hijrah to the Prophet. They heard about him. Some Sahaba might have told them. They heard about him. And some of them, they don't even qualify to be called tabi'in because they heard from the kafir. But what the kafir said about the Prophet, it made sense to them. So they came to do hijrah to the Prophet. They died in the way. Those people that Allah in Quran says as well. We take the Prophet hadith that says that the Sahaba don't insult my Sahaba. Because if any one of you spent the mountain of Uhud gold, he will not reach the handful of any of my companions. We take this hadith, but we don't ignore the saying of Allah. We don't ignore Quran that says لا يستوي منكم من أنفق من قبل الفتح وقاتل أولئك أعظم درجة من الذين أنفقوا من بعد وقاتلوا. They are not equal. Those who have spent before the Fath of Mecca and those who have spent their wealth and fought before the Fath, the victory, and those who spent after, they are not equal. Those who spent before they have a bigger reward. Now there was some people who came to the Prophet before the Fath of Mecca, from Bahrain for example, Bani Abdul Qais. Just a few of them learned the religion from the Prophet, went back to their people, and the Prophet ordered them, when you fight, of course fighting for the sake of Allah, you have to give the fifth of what you get from the war booty. These people have fought before even Al-Hassan and Al-Hussein and Ibn Zubayr and Ibn Abbas were born, probably, or they were children. These people fought then for the sake of Allah, and they spent for the sake of Allah before the Fath of Mecca, which make them qualify for, they come under this ayah, that they are not equal to those who, even though you can't call them Sahaba. I don't mean the people who met the Prophet. These people are just delegation to another tribe. So they went back there and taught their people. The 14 people who saw the Prophet are not an army. So they will go and organize the army and fight and for the sake of Allah. These people have spent. So this is a point here. It will might help you for probably next lesson, Ijma' of the Sahaba. You understand? So it's not generally. Do you have anything to say regarding? Yes, the Sahaba generally are the best, but there are some tabi'in or even not tabi'in who are better than some Sahaba. Not every Sahabi like Abu Bakr and Umar. This definitely in addition to having kept company to the Prophet, they were from the first people to spend in the sake of Allah and fight in the sake of Allah. We are talking about the small generation of Sahaba, or the Sahaba who were actually, sometimes some Sahaba were forced to become Muslim. It's good, still good, but definitely it's still good that it is blessing of Allah that they were forced to become a Muslim, and they are Sahaba. But do you compare this Sahaba now to the people who choose to fight for the sake of Allah when Islam was not spread? This is not what Allah says. Allah says that those are better, and they will have a bigger reward. As for the issue back to Ijaza, I think, I don't know if you did.
I think it's covered.
I think it's good.
Yeah, it's covered. Yeah, let's stop there.